Hey guys, it's Esper. So I'm starting you guys off with a different video for this. So this is a more intermediate guide to Tarkov. I will go over the basics of terrain and maps, and I'll go over when to engage, when to disengage, and decision making, which I think is a very, very, very big thing in Tarkov. So let's get started, and I'll walk you guys through a few clips where I've picked out examples of when I've done all of these things.
See dead scavs in the road past breach, so there's someone around expansion, I think. Don't tell.
So right here, Blue makes the call. Alright, there's a guy on Dorms Hill.
100% don't tell. In the bushes.
Nading. So one thing I want to say here is that throwing grenades is a very, very effective way to zone your enemies out, right? You may get a kill here, or you may also move them out of this bush cover right here that's super incredibly strong. So let's keep going.
Same.
Right now, you will see the player right there. He's really, really hard to see, but you'll be able to see him. He now uses this defilade right here to his advantage. You see him at the top, but he goes on the other side of the hill from the information he's gotten. Probably the grenades from here and the grenades from Blue. So let's play the clip.
Two of them, they're running away.
So you see him there, and I keep firing at him, and he uses the defilade again and backs off. Backing off, reloading. So right here, I use the very same defilade. Oops. The very same defilade right here to reload my gun and get into cover where they can't pick me.
Killed one. Other one's running to the road.
And like I said, grenades are a good way to zone your enemies. They're now throwing grenades back at us to keep us out of their side of the defilade.
Bus stop. There's multiple around
God.
me, I think.
That nade almost killed me. So
There's two.
now, this is where the terrain gets interesting, right? Because Dorms Hill has a very different sort of terrain on each side. This one is a little bit more flat, whereas you get a lot more of a defilade on this side. So if you want to draw a line, one side of Dorms Hill is very steep, lots of good defilade, whereas this side of Dorms Hill is a lot more flat, so you have a lot less cover.
One's dirt road bushes.
So now you'll see this guy. He's looking around. Think he's obviously heard the action, trying to see if there's anybody here. But the spot he's picked has very, very little cover. So now that he is in the very center of this small slope, even if he went over the defilade, he still would be showing from probably about here.
No? Bus stop is dead. Bus stop is dead.
There was one more on, I killed one on Dorms Hill. Okay, so now you're going to notice that I am very, very, very hurt. So what I'm doing right now is adjusting to the call that Blue made, right? So he said that there are people further down that way. So now I'm using this whole hill as a physical cover while I heal.
Okay, the other one was dirt road bush line.
Where are you?
He's pit.
Okay, pushing. Alright, so that's about the end of it for the terrain. And I want to go a little bit into decision making here, just because I think that it's one of those very difficult things to kind of get a grasp of in any game, really, until you've played it enough. So I'm gonna skip around here a little bit. Okay.
On top of my body.
So decision making really comes down to what you know in the situation. So here, Blue has died and he's made the call of saying that there's a guy at bus stop. Alright, so I've asked him where his body was, and his body, I think, is right around here. So I now make a choice, right? So I either back off, loot the guys I've killed, and maybe get away, or I can finish this fight and hopefully push the guy here. So I know what my playstyle is like, and you will develop your playstyle the more you play. So each and every decision you make will be different from mine. But my decision at the time was to push it because I had the information and he wasn't so far removed from that situation. So here, I see him and make the immediate decision when I miss the shots the first time to keep pushing and get in a zone where I'm comfortable. I'm a very CQC fighter. Like, the distance between me and him isn't that far. So I am now at an advantage, I feel, because this is where I feel comfortable engaging. Killed him.
Okay, there's one in the big book.
So that's a little bit of what goes on when you're playing Tarkov. A lot of this starts to become second nature when you do it a lot more. You'll notice the defilades, you'll notice where you can take cover. So I'm gonna move on to when to engage and disengage. So this is a clip where Blue has already died, and there are two people here and somewhere along back there. And I am, one, using the terrain right here, and all of this to my advantage, alright? So I'm gonna keep playing the clip. And I'm using this hard cover to move between. So I'm not all the way up front over here. I'm using hard cover to move. Therefore, I'm less likely to get caught out. I'm less likely to die while I'm relocating. So now, I'm moving out of a very, very safe place. But I'm also moving toward another place that has loads of solid cover. So I'm getting a little bit more aggressive here. Not thoroughly aggressive, but just a little bit more. Trying to get a peek, trying to look out, and they start shooting at me. So what do? I don't quite know exactly where they're shooting at me from, but I have this cover right here. So I start moving toward this cover and start engaging because I know the general direction of where this is headed. So this is half suppression fire and half hoping I'll get a kill. So now I'm backing off, but keep in mind I'm using these things as hard cover as well. Now, I hear somebody in Medvan right around this area. So probably around here. Now, if they go around and peek me from here, I don't have cover currently. So what I do is I back off. Notice that I have hard cover here, but know that I also have enemies to my left. So I make the decision and I back off in between M4 and factory key right here. I'm gonna skip ahead because I'm just sitting here repacking mags for a little bit. Ultimately, the fight goes back over to boiler side. And the two people who were fighting me eventually end up pushing me. So I start getting shot at here. And right around here, I think, is where the shots are coming from. So I know that, but I can't quite see where this person is. So this is the time to disengage. When you don't know where you're getting shot from, when you don't know exactly where they are, take cover. And this is where also terrain comes in. You've got this huge cover to run to. So now you're gonna see me use my terrain and map knowledge to avoid this guy from killing me. So I now get shot at, and I know that this is no longer the same person. One, because I was able to tell from direction of the shot, and two, I have a direct, solid cover to keep him from shooting at me. So now I've seen muzzle flashes from here. So now I've pinpointed two enemies, and I know now where they want to engage me from. Suppression fire, also really, really good for firefights. Again, solid cover. Keep me from dying to the grenade. Now, I get a look at where exactly he is. And I can now fire with a little bit more certainty. So now that I've pinpointed where my enemies are, my playstyle comes into effect, right? I end up, let's skip a little bit here. I end up pushing out of here and again, using the terrain to my advantage. He can't see me over here. But now, once I push over, I know that I will be skylining and I will be losing my hard cover. So I have to be ready to disengage. So here, that's what he does. You know, I caught him off guard and he's disengaging. But not far enough. I'm very aggressive, and this is where I've made the conscious decision to go and engage because I've heard him. I know right about where he is, and I feel like I can win the firefight. So now I know relatively the past, I want to say 20-30 seconds, that the last guy is about over here. Like right around here, over here. So that's when I choose to push through and try to find him. So it's one of those things to kind of first learn where you're disadvantaged and how to turn the situation around in your favor, because you always want to engage on your terms. I made these guys play on my terms by getting the first pick and getting the solid cover that I needed so they couldn't kill me. So the last thing I want to show you guys is this clip where a lot of you know, if you watch my live stream, I am not the best Shoreline player. I had just started playing Shoreline recently, and it's probably one of the most difficult maps for me, because when I first had just my 4790K, I couldn't really run it that well. So this is me pushing myself out of my comfort zone. At this point, there had been a lot of firefights. Blue has died, and I'm by myself. And there are more people down the hallway, like, back there. So now I am moving up and trying to listen and see what's going on. So now here, I make the decision to just go for it. It's one of those things where I knew I was either going to get camped out or we were going to sit there for 20 minutes. It's a shame, but a lot of the people that play the game will just camp and will just sit there until, you know, somebody else pushes them and they'll just hold an angle. So I counteract that pretty much by playing super aggressively. So now this guy is in here, right? He's holding a really, really tight angle. So he's not only aiming out of this doorway, he's aiming out of here now as well. So he has a very short window to go and actually land his shots on me. So I just walked past him, got in cover. Let's see. Got in cover here. Then I realize, I'm still getting shot at, that there is a guy right here. So now I have a decision to make. I'm in between two people right now. One can push me at any time, and another can kill me where he stands, or rather crouches. So I committed. And this is one of those things that I will always say is you gotta commit. You gotta commit to one thing. If you die, at least you've tried to do something. Now, I had a plan in mind at this point. And my plan was that I was going to shoot this guy until he died, walk over his body, and take the first solid cover, and the safest solid cover I had in my immediate vicinity. So you notice there, I just kept walking toward him and shooting, because that was what I wanted to do. I got solid cover, I reloaded, see if he was pushing me, and then kept on pushing. I already knew what his location was. He could have changed and gone over here, but I checked my corners. So it was one of those things where this wasn't the most comfortable situation for me. I don't like dealing with campers. I don't like dealing with people who just sit in rooms, because it's very difficult to clear a room and they can just listen for you. But this is one of those put yourself out of your comfort zone to learn better how you can play the game and what works for you, because otherwise you'll never know. Alright guys, that is the end to this intermediate guide to disengaging and engaging, terrain and map knowledge, and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Let me know if this was helpful. Let me know what ways I can improve these tutorials, and if you want to see more and if you want to see things that are way more detailed, let me know in the comments. I do stream every day besides Wednesdays and Sundays, 1 p.m. EST. If you guys have any questions, do not hesitate to come and ask them on stream. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!